What avoidants feel when you finally walk away is not what you imagine, not what they show, and definitely not what they admit, not even to themselves. At first, it looks like nothing. You expect a reaction, a pause, a ripple, some sign that your silence has weight. But avoidants don't respond in real time. They don't feel in real time. Their emotional reactions move slowly, like a delayed echo traveling through miles of internal walls. And yet, the moment you walk away, the exact second you choose yourself, they feel something they would never confess. An internal shift, a tightening, a flicker of awareness. They won't call it loss. They won't call it fear. They won't even call it noticing. But something happens. They register the absence. They feel the space you used to fill. They sense the withdrawal of your warmth, your consistency, your emotional availability. On the outside, it looks like indifference. On the inside, it's a subtle crack in a system built on distance. When you were there, they lived in a world where your care was a constant. Your messages, your check-ins, your attempts to understand them, your way of bridging every gap they created. Your presence became a background safety they never had to name. When you finally stop, the first thing they lose isn't you as a person, it's the invisible net of your effort. At first, though, they tell themselves a different story. In the beginning, there is relief. Pressure removed, expectations dissolved, intensity gone. It feels like air returning to their lungs. Your absence creates a space that feels less demanding, less overwhelming. Their nervous system stops bracing for closeness. They say to themselves, "This is good. This is what I needed. Things were getting too heavy. Now it's calm again." And for a little while, they believe that. They lean into their routines. They focus on work. They scroll. They talk to people who require less. They act like nothing happened. If you could see them, you'd think they forgot you overnight. But that version is only the surface. Deeper down, something else is starting. There's a low, steady awareness that the pattern has shifted, and they didn't choose it. For once, you left before they did. You let the silence land, and even though they won't admit it, that touches something tender inside them. Quietly, they notice. They haven't messaged. They didn't follow up. They didn't ask if I'm okay this time. They brush it off. They tell themselves you're busy, distracted, maybe dramatic, maybe over it. They cling to any explanation that doesn't require them to feel. But they check. They look at your profile. They see you active but not reaching out. They see your life continuing, and a small, unwelcome thought appears. Did they stop needing me? The truth is, avoidants depend more on your presence than they'll ever say. Your efforts allowed them to stay distant while still feeling connected. They could sit in their comfort zone, never initiate, never risk too much, and still have the emotional benefits of being cared for. You walking away removes that safety net. So even if they act fine, your absence has started a process inside them they don't know how to handle. At first, they push it away. They distract. They tell themselves you weren't that important, that someone else will come along, that this is normal, that they're better alone. But late at night, or in small, quiet pockets of the day, the facade thins. They go to send a meme and realize you're not the person they'd send it to anymore. They think of something you said and feel an ache they don't name. They see something that reminds them of you and feel their chest tighten for a second before they go numb again. They don't call it missing you. They call it being off. They tell themselves they're just tired, stressed, overwhelmed. Avoidants often feel their longing as tension, not as a clean, "I miss you." So when you walk away, they don't sit and cry. They feel restless, irritated, distracted, emotionally foggy. They scroll more. They stay up later. They look for more stimulation. Anything but sitting with the awareness that someone who made them feel seen is no longer trying. After a while, the story they tell themselves starts to crack. Days pass. You still don't reach out. No double text. No, just checking on you. No long explanation trying to fix what they broke. And now their silence doesn't feel like control anymore. It feels like exposure. Before, you were the one holding the door open, the one keeping the thread alive. Now your hand is off the doorknob. The thread is cut. And on some level, they know they're the one who handed you the scissors. The questions they avoid begin to surface. Did I push too far? Did they finally see I can't show up? Did they realize I never really let them in? They don't like these questions, so they push them down. But push-down questions turn into a quieter, heavier feeling. Regret. Not the dramatic kind, the kind that sits in the body like a weight. They might try to replace you in small ways. Talk to someone new. Entertain another connection that feels lighter, less demanding. But it doesn't land the same. The new person doesn't know them like you did, doesn't read between their lines, doesn't offer the same patience or warmth. It's easier on the surface, but emptier underneath. They may not be able to name this, but they feel it. They start to understand that what you were offering wasn't ordinary. You were a place they could exist without having to perform, explain, or always be on. You were a space where their walls were noticed, but not attacked. You tried to understand their silences instead of punishing them. You made room for their fear. That doesn't mean they could show up for you the way you needed. But it does mean losing you hits differently. Your walking away is not like anyone else leaving. You weren't just another person. They know that, even if they never said it out loud. When you finally choose yourself, something inside them gets exposed. The part that always assumed someone like you would keep trying. When that assumption breaks, they feel it like a quiet emotional injury. They might lash out in their mind to protect themselves. They were too much anyway. They were too emotional, too needy. They always wanted more. These judgments are armor. It's easier to criticize you in their head than to admit they were loved by someone good and still couldn't show up. But the more time passes, the weaker that story feels. The memory of you doesn't fade on schedule. It lingers. Not in grand, romantic flashes, but in details. The way you said their name. The way you handled their moods. The way you remembered small things they mentioned. The way you still tried, even when they were distant. That's when the deeper realization arrives. You walked away not because you stopped caring, but because you had to save yourself. And if they let the truth in, even for a moment, they know it. They know you didn't slam the door. You slowly closed it after standing in the doorway for far too long. Some avoidants will reach out at this stage. A vague message, a reaction to a story, a casual, "Hey," sent months later. Not a full apology, not a clear acknowledgement. Just a test balloon to see if you'll let them back into the space they didn't know how to tend. But many won't reach out at all. Not because you didn't matter, but because the shame of their inaction and the fear of vulnerability combine into paralysis. They think, it's been too long. They've moved on. They don't want to hear from me. If I go back, They'll want things I still don't know how to give. So they stay silent and carry the impact alone. You may never see this. On the outside, you'll see them living, laughing, posting, moving on. Inside, your name is tied to a lesson they won't talk about. You become the person they remember when they say, "Someone once cared about me more than I could handle." You become the reference point for a kind of love they weren't ready to receive. Your leaving doesn't destroy them. It reveals them to themselves. They come face to face with the cost of staying behind their walls. They see, even if they try not to, that distance kept them safe, but also alone. That staying in control meant losing something real. That avoidance protected them from pain in the short term and created a different kind of ache in the long term. They might not transform because of it, not right away, but they don't forget. Avoidants remember the people who walked away for their own sanity more than they remember the ones they pushed away casually. Because those are the people who forced them to confront a truth. You can't halfway participate in love and expect someone to stay forever. So, what do avoidants feel when you finally walk away? At first, relief. Then, a strange quiet. Then, restless distraction. Then, an ache they misname as stress. Then, the slow, dawning awareness that they lost something that was holding them more gently than they knew. They feel the weight of your absence in the places where your presence once softened their life. They feel the echo of your care in moments they don't expect. They feel the loss in delayed waves, long after you've already decided you won't go back. They may never message. They may never apologize. They may never give you the closure you deserved. But don't confuse their silence with emptiness. They feel it, just on a different timeline, in a different language, inside a heart that was taught to hide from the very thing it wanted. And in the silence you chose, they finally feel everything they once ran from. This is Attachment Alchemy Lab, and you're safe here.